is LMU I'm Scott Rowland, back again with head men's basketball coach Josh Schertz. Postseason time is upon us, officially upon us now, Coach. Last night, opened up the SAC championship with a 71-56 win over Brevard. We talked about it a little bit last night. Almost an exact replica of the last time we played them, just last Monday, actually. And kind of a weird first half, but ended up coming out with a dominant defensive performance. I'm sure you were happy with how your team turned it around in the second half.
Yeah, I was happy with the second half. I thought first half we were, weren't incredibly focused, didn't have much energy, and Brevard came out and really, I thought, played well. We got up 10 in the first half, and I thought had a decent grasp on it, and then they made some shots. I thought offensively we were a little bit lethargic. We didn't do a great job spacing the floor. Ball movement, body movement wasn't very good, and we just looked a little bit out of sorts, I thought. And then Jarrell hit a big three I got a 4-point play right at the end of the half to put us up 2 going to the break, and gave us a little bit of momentum. And I thought in the second half we came back with a much better determination, played with much more purpose, and looked like a good basketball team. It was obviously disconcerting to play a first half like that in a postseason game where you didn't feel like maybe everybody was mentally engaged. But I was proud of how we performed the second half, and hopefully we can kind of build on that moving forward, because certainly the performance in the first half is not going to be good enough as we go on.
And then a lot of news from yesterday that went along with that game. I'll start off with the first thing. The SAC awards came out, and we were I felt rightfully in my mind, honored majorly. You get Lorenzo Ross as SAC Player of the Year, second straight SAC Player of the Year, third in the program's tenure. You win another Coach of the Year on your back-to-back award, your third as your time here. And then you also see Lou getting first team All-Conference, Keenan Peterson getting second team All-Conference, Dorian Penton gets all SAC freshman team. So just a really good haul. Maybe what did you talk to your guys about after seeing all those awards come out?
Well, I always think that individual awards in a team sport are a reflection of your team. I think that reflects on the guys, and so I think those 4 guys that got their awards really deserved them based on performance. I thought you could certainly flip a coin with Lorenzo and Luquan as to who was the Player of the Year in the league. They both have incredible meaning to us. And in the regular season, I thought our team was far and away the best team in the conference during the regular season part of it. And those 2 guys were consistent. They had not good games, but great seasons. And their performance on a night-in, night-out basis certainly allowed us to have the level of success that we've had. And they really help one another. Lorenzo certainly helps Luquan with his ability to get in the lane and push pace and find him in transition and draw crowds and make plays. And Luquan's ability to shoot the ball certainly gives Lorenzo a lot of space to operate and stretches the floor and really helps Lorenzo not to have such a crowded floor against him. So those 2 guys I thought were terrific and certainly deserving. Glad I had to choose which one was Player of the Year. Keenan Peterson, been an anchor for us inside, really has. He's evolved nicely. He's a testament to a guy really persevering, and because he hasn't had it easy. I mean, he redshirted, didn't even play for the next 2 years. He spent 3 years in our program. I think in his first 3 years, I look back at it, might have scored 60 points and grabbed 70 rebounds in his first 3 years total. And then last year he started and was a good player for us, kind of a sidekick to Vinny, and he's obviously evolved into an anchor for us inside. I think we talked about it earlier in the year. To be a really good team, you got to have an anchor at the point, and you got to have an anchor in the post. Those are the 2 most important positions on the floor, and Lorenzo and Keenan have performed at a really, really high level for us. And KP does a lot outside of scoring. He anchors our defense. He's a great defensive rebounder. He does a nice job in the pick and roll. He moves his feet well for 6'10", 250, and has just had an unbelievable, how much he's grown and developed, which is a testament to him and who he is. And then obviously you get to Dorian, and Dorian's had a really nice year. As a freshman to come in, he started a lot. He's played a significant role off the bench. It's really hard for young guys to get playing time on good teams. because you have usually guys that are in the program that are ahead of you. But he's really been an impact for us, and he's a guy that as time goes on is going to be one of the most versatile guys in the league. He allows us to play big and play small at the same time, which is really unique. And so he's been fantastic for us and is deserving. And you know, from the coaching standpoint, you know, we've talked about that. You know, the players do the work, players win the games, and you know, it's always, you know, a nice honor to be recognized by your peers. But you certainly understand I have a piece, but a very small piece, and those guys do the heavy lifting. I mean, the players have to go out and perform and win the games and do the job, and I've been very fortunate. They let me coach them, and they, you know, high character guys who respond and they care, they're committed, all the things that go into being a good team. And you know, you don't get coach of the year if you have a bad team. So it's all about them and what they've done, and I'm very lucky to be able to coach those guys.
Well, and then you look at the final, I guess you would actually call it the final, not the final, the second to last Southeast Region ranking comes out. We had been second in the first two polls, and then we finally overtook Mount Olive for the #1 spot. And it's kind of a similar situation where, you know, we've been here very often the last couple of years, right there for us to grab, hosting the Southeast Regional, and it feels like it's another really good opportunity for us this year, obviously. And we know what's in front of us. How do you, and I assume that your guys know this too, it's something that's not avoided talking about in the locker room, but how do you keep the guys focused on these next two games, this next game, this next game, and then getting through that, and then to, instead of getting ahead of yourself and maybe counting your eggs before they hatch?
Well, I think, you know, in our situation, what's good is, you know, you can't, and I said this last night in the post game with Rusty, you know, you can't, and I know people are talking about the region and host and all that stuff, and everybody, you know, loves to speculate and what's going to happen and all that, but at the end of the day, I really believe, you know, you get what you earn, and you got to earn it between the lines. If we go out and perform at a high level against Queens and are fortunate to get a victory there and get to the finals and perform well enough and are fortunate to win in the championship, then we'll host the region. But talking about it or speculating about it or what if, I mean, you know, that's where you wind up not getting things you want, because you get caught up in the periphery instead of focusing on what's right in front of you. And you can't talk your way to a host. You can't, you know, coerce your way into a regional a deal. You got to earn it through how you play, through your performance. And our guys have to come in and certainly, you know, thinking about anything else but playing an excellent Queens team in the semifinals, a Queens team that is super talented, that you can argue the last 3 games is just absolutely blown the doors off 3 good teams. I mean, went into Catawba and just hammered them, went to Anderson on senior night and knocked them out of the postseason, and then went in last night and was up 26 on Wingate in the second half there and kind of called the dogs off, won by 18. So now you look at that team, they're playing unbelievably well, and they have to win to get in the NCAA tournament, so they're playing for their lives. And we're playing for high stakes as well. You would expect both teams to come out and be super competitive, and if we're focused on anything periphery outside of Queens and how good they are and what we got to do to execute and try to do what we need to do to have success, we're going to get beat, and then all that talk goes away. We just hop on a bus and go to Mount Olive or Pembroke or wherever they're going to host the tournament.
Yeah, and you had already alluded to what's next up is a very tough Queens team, and we saw the bracket, and we saw that if you get through fortunate enough to get through the first round, you're on to either Wingate or Queens. 2 very similar teams. We end up with Queens, like you had said, playing great right now. Very comparable style to us. Very efficient team from the field. They got 2 of the more talented players in the conference, and Rob Lewis and Sean Morgan. Swept the season series, but obviously you're extremely aware, and your guys are aware of the challenge that's in front of you.
Yeah, they're an excellent team. They've been a little bit, you know, I think they went through a stretch and didn't play very well. Rankin was hurt. I think he missed 3 or 4 games, and they've just had kind of different things going on. But they've been whole here the last, you know, really the last 3 games. I think Rankin got back, and once they're whole, I mean, they're as talented and as deep as anybody in the South Atlantic Conference, anybody maybe in the region. They're starting 5. They're exceptionally well coached. Bart does a great job with them. They are turning people over like no other. I mean, you look at, I think they turned over Wingate 22 times last night. got Anderson 17 or 18 times, turned over Catawba 20 times. I mean, they're playing great pressure defense. Like you said, they're an efficient offensive team. They've got all the pieces. They've got an all-conference post in Sean Morgan, got a great point guard in Rankin, one of the top wings in the league in Rob Lewis. They've got other guys. I mean, Jared Hendricks, great shot blocker on the interior. Jadarian Jackson, gets 23 points, I think, against Anderson. Goes and gets 16 rebounds last night against Wingate. He's a three that really fills a lot of gaps for him. They were playing without Jackson and Rankin for periods of time. So when they're whole, they're as good, in my opinion, as anybody in the region. They got great talent. They got great coaching. They have a good depth. They have size. They have shot blocking. They're solid offensively. They can shoot the ball from the perimeter. They can hurt you on the interior. And as you know, I mean, the best teams are one that can hurt you the most ways. And Queens can hurt you a lot of ways. They can hurt you from the perimeter. They can hurt you on the interior. They can hurt you by turning you over. They can hurt you on the offensive glass. There's a lot of things that you got to do to have success against them. That's what makes them such a formidable opponent.
Well, busy weekend, Coach, and we wish you the best of luck over in the conference tournament. And we know no matter what, next Thursday we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Absolutely. Sounds good, Scotty.